Dear friend, you're 20 and think you know everything. You puff your chest, square your shoulders, and think that being a man is about power, pride, and holding it all together. And I understand that, because I thought the same. We all did. Being tough, being stoic, being the provider. That was the script handed to us like a hammer to a carpenter. No instructions, just figure it out. But let me tell you what 90 years have taught me. Being a man is not what the world tells you. It's not about how much money you made, how many people respected you, or how little you cried at your mother's funeral. Being a man, a real man, is about something much deeper, something quieter, something harder. And I want to talk to you about that today. I know you might be sitting in your favorite chair. Maybe your back aches a little. Maybe the hands that once built so much now tremble when you hold your coffee cup. That's all right. Those hands have held life, and that matters more than their steadiness now. In this letter, I want to walk you through a few truths about manhood. Not the kind you read in books or see in movies. The kind you earn with time. These aren't lessons I read in some self-help guide. These were carved into my bones by life itself. And if I can spare you even a few of the regrets I carry, then this letter will have been worth it. So let's begin. You know, when I was younger, I thought strength meant silence. That to be a man meant never asking for help, never admitting fear, never showing weakness. I once stood at my father's grave with tears burning behind my eyes like a dam ready to break. And I didn't let a single one fall. I thought that made me strong. It took me 40 years to realize it made me lonely. Let me tell you something. There is no strength in shutting yourself off. There's no honor in suffering in silence. The strongest men I've ever known were the ones who had the courage to say, I'm hurting. The ones who reached out instead of closing off. Being a man doesn't mean you never break. It means you know how to heal. And healing starts when we stop hiding. That brings me to something else. Presence. My boy, I spent decades chasing things I thought defined me. Money, promotions, accolades. I missed birthdays. I forgot anniversaries. I sat at dinner tables with my body there, but my mind still at the office. I told myself I was doing it for them, my wife, my kids. But really, I was running, chasing approval, trying to prove I was enough. If I could go back, I'd tell that younger version of me, put the phone down, close the briefcase, go outside and throw the ball. Look your child in the eyes when they're talking about dinosaurs for the 10th time. Let your wife see you listening, not just hearing. Be there, truly there, because that's what being a man is. Showing up for the people you love. And for yourself. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's too late. The kids are grown. Maybe the house is quieter now than it's ever been. Maybe there's no one sitting across the table anymore. And that's where the pain lives, doesn't it? In what we didn't say. In what we didn't do. But let me remind you, it's never too late to show up differently. Maybe you can't redo the past, but you can heal it. One phone call, one letter, one honest conversation at a time. And maybe it's not your children. Maybe it's a brother you haven't spoken to in years, or a friend you let drift away. Don't wait for the right time. That right time is now. You know what else I learned far too late? That masculinity and gentleness are not opposites. They're companions. The men I respect the most now aren't the loudest, they're not the ones who walk into a room and dominate it. No, they're the ones who walk into a room and notice who's hurting. The ones who sit beside someone in silence and let that silence be a form of presence. The ones who still open doors, not because women are weak, but because manners matter. Who still say, "Thank you, I'm sorry, and you matter." And yes, even at our age, it's never too late to become that kind of man. I remember one afternoon, I was sitting on the porch with my neighbour Joe. He was a World War II vet, strong as an ox even in his 80s, but soft-spoken. We sat there, sipping coffee, and he said something I'll never forget. He said, "You know, the hardest part of aging isn't the body giving up. It's realizing how long you pretended to be someone you're not." That hit me like a stone in the gut. So, let me ask you, when was the last time you were really you? Not the father, not the provider, not the strong, silent type. But you? The boy who once danced in the rain, or cried at the end of a love letter. He's still in there. And I think it's time you let him breathe again. Let him speak. Let him laugh. Let him cry. Let him feel. Because you, my friend, are still here. And as long as you're breathing, you're still becoming. You don't need to man up. You just need to be more you. The real you. That's the man the world needs. That's the man you need. And that brings us to something else I think you'll find even more helpful. Do you remember the first time you ever stood up for someone who couldn't stand up for themselves? Maybe it was on the playground, when some kid smaller than you was getting picked on, and you stepped in, heart pounding but firm. Or maybe it was later in life, when you saw your own child being misunderstood, and you spoke up when no one else would. That kind of strength, the kind that protects, that speaks up, that shelters, that's the real kind, the kind we don't talk about enough. Too many people think manhood is about domination. But it's not. It's about protection. Not control, but care. A good man uses his strength not to impress, but to shield. Not to intimidate, but to comfort. You know, I once worked with a man named Walter. Quiet fellow. Had hands like tree trunks from years in construction, but a voice soft as a lullaby. He never raised his voice, never once tried to prove anything. But when someone was in need, Walter was already moving before anyone else thought to help. Day. A storm knocked over a tree into an elderly neighbour's yard. Before the thunder had even faded, Walter was out there in the rain with his saw and gloves, clearing the path. He never said a word about it, just helped and went home. That's the kind of man I still want to be. Because being a man isn't about what people see. It's about what you do when no one's watching. Let me ask you something. When's the last time you felt proud of who you are, without needing someone else to say so? You see, for much of our lives, we chase approval. We want to be the good husband, the reliable friend, the strong father. We want the handshake, the nod, the pat on the back. And those are good things, don't get me wrong. But the real test of manhood comes when you're standing alone, and you still choose to do the right thing. Not because someone's watching, not because you'll get credit, but because your character demands it. That's something age teaches you. Character over charisma. Quiet over noise. Meaning over medals. And while we're here, let's talk about emotions for a minute. I know that word might make your shoulders tighten a little. I get it. Most of us were taught that men don't cry, that emotions are a sign of weakness, that we're supposed to be the rock for everyone else, and there's a kind of nobility in that. But here's the truth no one told us. Even rocks crack under pressure, and even rocks need shelter from the storm. I've seen too many good men buckle under decades of unspoken grief. Marriages lost because they didn't know how to say, "I'm scared." Children drift away because dad never said, "I love you." Friends grow old beside each other without ever having a real conversation about what's going on in their hearts. But you, my friend, still have time. You can still open your mouth and speak the words that were always waiting behind your ribs. It's okay to say you miss someone. It's okay to say you feel lonely. It's okay to feel everything. Because real men don't hide from emotion. They learn to live with it, walk with it, and grow from it. Let me share something a bit personal. There was a woman I loved once, deeply. We were young, fiery, full of dreams. But I didn't know how to love her properly. I thought love meant providing, being dependable. And I was. But I never told her the things that lived inside my chest. I didn't show her the softness, the poetry, the fears. I thought that stuff was just not for men. Years later, I stood beside her hospital bed, holding her hand, and all I could think about were the words I never said. If I could go back, I wouldn't buy her more gifts. I'd give her more honesty. I'd show her the whole man, not just the strong one. So if you're blessed to still have someone in your life you care about, tell them, show them. Don't wait for a tragedy to open your heart. Be brave enough to say, "I need you. I love you. I'm sorry." Because, my dear friend, that's being a man too. And here's something else I've been learning, even now, in these twilight years. Gentleness is not weakness. In fact, it may be the most powerful trait a man can carry into old age. We don't get to lift like we used to. Our steps may slow, our grip may soften, but our words, our presence, our spirit, those can become stronger than ever. You can be the gentle man who listens with patience, who offers kindness to strangers, who hugs his grandchildren a little longer and says, "I'm proud of you," just because it matters. You can be the man who teaches younger ones not by barking orders, but by showing how it's done. With grace, with humility, with open hands. You see, being a man doesn't end at 60, or 70, or even 90. Manhood isn't a finish line you cross. It's a lifelong dance between strength and softness, boldness and compassion. And if you're reading this, then you're still in the dance. So don't sit this one out. There's still music left to move to. There's still wisdom to give, still love to share, still you to become. Now, before I finish this letter, there's one more thing I need to tell you. Now, before I finish this letter, there's one more thing I need to tell you. You haven't missed your chance. No matter what the world says about getting older, no matter what your knees, your eyesight, or the obituary page tell you every morning, you are not finished. I know you've made mistakes. I have too. Some of them still wake me up in the middle of the night. The words I didn't say, the people I pushed away, the times I chose pride over peace. And Lord knows I've carried regrets like old luggage, tattered, heavy, and filled with things I never should have packed. But here's the beauty of being this age. We finally get to unpack. We finally get to stop proving, Stop performing and just be. You don't need to pretend anymore. Not for your family, not for the neighbors, not even for yourself. The man you are, beneath the armor, beneath the stories, and the shame, he's enough. And I want you to believe that, because here's a truth we rarely say out loud. It takes far more courage to forgive yourself than to conquer the world. So if there's something you've been holding on to, something that happened years ago, a moment where you wish you'd done better, let it go. Set it down. Speak it out loud if you need to. Cry if you have to. Then lift your chin and remind yourself you're still learning. Even now, at 60 or 70 or 80, there's one last story I want to share with you. A few years ago, I met an old friend at a diner. We hadn't seen each other in decades. Life had pulled us in different directions, as it so often does. Over eggs and black coffee, he leaned in and said, "You know what I regret most, old friend? I spent so many years being the kind of man others expected me to be. I never became the one I wanted to be." That hit me right in the heart, because for too long, being a man meant fitting into a box. Stoic, strong, silent, providing but never receiving, leading but never admitting we were lost. But that box, it's far too small for the soul of a real man. A real man laughs without shame, cries without apology, fails and gets back up, not because he must, but because he chooses to. A real man stands up not just for others, but for himself. He stands up for the little boy still living inside him, the one who was told to be quiet, to be tough, to not feel too much, and maybe that boy is still waiting for your permission. So here's what I want you to do, if you're willing. Tonight, when things are quiet, sit alone for a moment. No TV, no phone, just you and the silence. And ask yourself, what kind of man do I want to be for the rest of my life? Not the man you were told to be, not the one society shaped you into, but the truest version of you. Write it down if you have to. Speak it out loud. And then live it, because being a man, my friend, is not a title. It's not an age. It's not a milestone you reach. It's a choice you make every day. You can be strong and still be soft. You can be firm and still be kind. You can be honest and still be loved. And if no one's told you this in a while, let me be the one. You are not broken. You are not too late. You are not too old. You are exactly where you're meant to be. If you're willing to keep becoming, I'm proud of you, truly. Just for reading this. Just for being willing to open your heart again. That takes guts most people never find in a lifetime. So here's how I'll close this letter. Be a man, not the one the world expects. Be the man your soul remembers. Be the man your grandson looks up to, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Be the man your younger self would thank. Be the man who still dances when no one is watching, who still loves deeply, who still believes in redemption, who still prays or meditates or walks through the woods and feels the sacredness in the quiet. Be the man who lifts others, even with shaking hands. Be the man who knows his story isn't over. And if this letter spoke to you, I'd be honored if you shared it with someone you care about. Maybe a son, a brother, a friend who still carries the same silent questions we all carry. And if you want more letters like this, from one old soul to another. I'd be grateful if you clicked like and subscribed. Not for fame or numbers, but because somewhere, someone else might need to hear what you just did. Until next time, take care of that beautiful soul of yours, your elder friend.